What is the outright dumbest thing you have heard someone say? From a pregnant girl in high school, smoking doesn't affect my baby because it hasn't developed its lungs yet. Apostrophe. We need health class in middle school now, I guess. This was about 17 years ago. For a Catholic school in small community, we had surprisingly progressive sex education classes that started in 5th grade. Sex ed was then taught as a part of the more general health classes that started in middle school and continued through to the end of high school, as that was the case for us. I don't know what the answer is to cure that kind of ignorance. I work in bankruptcy. One day, a new potential client came in. He was in his mid-30s. He was a truck driver and had been for about 15 years. During this time, he'd fathered more than 10 children all over the United States, like he was setting up franchises or something. However, he'd since settled down, gotten married, and he had 2 kids with his wife. The only debt he had was unpaid child support, but it was in the amount of over $50,000. There was nothing we could do to help, as child support obligations cannot be eliminated in a bankruptcy. But at one point in the conversation, he actually said to me, "I can't afford all this child support. I've got a wife and kids." Yes sir, you do have a wife, and many kids. That is an accurate statement. Like he was setting up franchises. It's just a reworded line from Fight Club. I can't really take credit for it. Q for cucumber. W for Y. A for R. E for I or X. C for Q. P as in pterodactyl. O as in oisox or any of those letters. Pregnancy doesn't have to hurt. It's a myth that it does. Apostrophe. This person was never pregnant. When you toast white bread, it gets healthier for you because it turns it brown like whole wheat bread. Same guy told me I should put my TV on a stand and off the floor because the heat from the TV will coagulate around the bottom and around the TV and mess it up. Yes, he used coagulate. At least he tries to be healthy mayo by color coding his diet, which could go very wrong. Canada shouldn't be allowed to vote in the US presidential election because they are a rest state that doesn't contribute to the economy. I agree with that. Canada shouldn't be allowed to vote. For a different reason, of course. They don't contribute, so you can agree for the same reason too. One guy tried to prove to me that you can jump out of a falling plane when it is low above the ground and survive by doing a somersault. Someone once told me that as long as you land on your side you will survive. I think if I'm ever in a situation where I'm falling with no parachute with no chance of being saved, I'll do a somersault and land on my side. I'll let you all know how it goes. No you won't. What day is Friday the 13th? My 24-year-old brother. I've said this without thinking, not gonna lie. You know, if we had lost the Revolutionary War, we'd all be speaking English right now. Apostrophe. That sounds like a pretty funny joke. Honestly, I hope it's a joke. Catholics weren't Christians and didn't celebrate Easter. Haha. Reminds me of something someone said the other day. People need to realize Jesus was Catholic. Like, I'm pretty sure he was Jewish. When my very Catholic dad came across anti-Semitism in a book he was reading to me and my little siblings, he would stop reading, point to our pictures of Mary and Jesus that we had, and remind us that all the first Christians were, in fact, Jewish. He sounds like a good dad. Heard someone saying dragons were extinct, lol. Aren't they? They were never alive. My bad. I read dinosaurs and got confused. Looks like I just said something real dumb, lol. Was working retail and tried to make a joke with a customer that I had eyes like a bat. He chuckled. I thought all was well until he looked up at me and said, "Bats don't have eyes." Shook me to my core. Certain types of bats have excellent sight. Here in Australia, our flying foxes have amazing night vision and use relatively little echolocation. You guys have spiders the size of elephants, so it doesn't count. My flatmate saw me scraping the burnt bits off my last piece of toast. She gasped with horror and shrieked, "OMG, do you have any idea how carcinogenic that is?" I suggested she go finish her breakfast cigarette outside and then we'd have a conversation about carcinogens. I remember years ago when I smoked someone seriously giving me a talking to about the dangers of my diet Mount Dew while I was smoking a cigarette. I've never forgotten that encounter. My mom's friend once got mad at me for drinking Coke because it would melt my stomach. I pointed out that she was drinking root beer, but she said that root beer is healthy because it's made of roots. Women can get pregnant by giving blowjobs. Somehow the esophagus is connected to the ovaries. Sperm 1, which way to the fallopian tube? Sperm 2, fallopian tube. We just pass the tonsils. Just hang a right after the appendix. If someone can't find a job, I don't see why they just don't go back to school, get a degree, and apply for better jobs. Guy was 27, very sheltered from a wealthy family, and had no clue that you need income for the time you're in school. Kick on top was he thought all colleges everywhere in the US where he lived were free. He thought they were like public libraries. Just walk in, grab books and sign up for whatever classes you want. The thing about if you don't like your job, just go out and get a better one crowd is that if people actually did this or could do this, who would still be around to do the unpleasant but essential jobs people like this rely on? People like this seem happy to consign a significant percentage of the population to poverty and lack of access to healthcare because those jobs must be done and someone must do them. Yet people like this don't want anyone who's working class to make a living wage or have health insurance because they could get a better job if they worked harder. Apostrophe. People usually argue high schoolers will work those minimum wage jobs with no insurance. Okay, so just for example, fast food restaurants, servers and cooks and bartenders, healthcare workers, retail workers, movie theater employees, hotel workers. Although services are only going to be open from 4 PM to 9 PM on weekdays, and on weekends close early enough for those high schoolers to sleep. I mean, you don't expect high schoolers to work during school hours, do you? Question mark? Well, the thing is they do expect that and don't understand how that's a problem. What is Canada? It was a serious question. Nice. But seriously, what is Canada? Google it. Might show up. Canada is a country in the northern part of North America. Its 10 provinces and 3 territories extend from the Atlantic to the Pacific and northward into the Arctic Ocean, covering 9.98 million square kilometers, making it the world's second largest country by total area. Wikipedia. What's a province and what's a kilometer? While sharing random facts to welcome a new coworker, this is a verbatim quote. Coworker 1, I was born dead. Coworker 2, genuinely concerned. OMG, did you survive? Collective pause and staring. Coworker 2, that was the dumbest thing I've ever said. Sadly, no, but I lived. I heard this in Zoidberg's voice. That the Pope isn't a real Catholic. A lot of Catholics are saying that about Pope Francis because he's challenging long-held traditions in the church. The most recent thing is his statement that, in short, said same-sex couples should be able to get legal unions. As expected, a lot of people heard it as gay marriage is okay, but the thing is, the Catholic Church technically doesn't recognize legal unions as marriage. It's only considered marriage if they went through the process of a religious sacrament, and same-sex couples are still forbidden from receiving that sacrament in the church. If they are questioning the Pope, they are not real Catholics, pretty much by definition. My ex-GF once asked why the Nazis went through the hustle of the Anschluss, because Austria is a different country, and how did the army even get here when they only invaded France later? Apparently she mixed up the location of France and Germany her whole life. We're Austrian. We don't even have a French border. Man I had sex with insisted I go pee, so I couldn't get pregnant. When I tried to explain how that wouldn't work, he doubled down with, I think I would know better than you. Apostrophe. I would say you dodged a bullet, but it sounds like the sex had already happened at this point. My condolences. Someone told my young daughter, who was wearing a kimono, to say namaste, because that's what they say in China. Apostrophe. There's so many things wrong with that. I know. It was sort of hard to even figure out where to start unpacking that one. From a grown 30-something-year-old woman. I was 22 at the time. that the moon and sun were the same celestial body, just at night it's not as bright. Because it's nighttime. She started crying when I simply pointed up at the moon in the daytime sky, then to the sun in a different part of the sky. I felt bad. I didn't mean to make her cry. But, goddamn, what did she think eclipses were? I doubt the thought of an eclipse ever traversed the two firing synapses she possessed. 2. Epic. Are you going to stir that coffee? No. Why? Sugar floats. Wouldn't it be funny if Halloween fell on Friday the 13th? I read this to my mom just now, and she said surely that's happened. She realized her mistake after I gave her a look. They didn't want to switch from regular cigarettes to the new e-cig when they first came out because they heard that e-cigs had the potential to cause cancer. You can have a lot of fun by pointing out that the chemicals used in vaping are essentially precursors to plastics manufacture. There's an excellent chance that some of these are forming long-chain hydrocarbons in their lungs